Atlanta's homicide unit has 3 baffling murders to solve. First, a mother of 8 is gunned down on the street.
I was hoping somebody out there would recognize the suspect somehow.
Now it was a long shot because the video was not good.
Then 2 teenagers are shot and killed in the middle of Atlanta's busiest highway.
I remember my mom screaming, yelling.
Are these brutal murders the work of the same man?
The last thing you want is for this to be some serial killing rampage in your area, because you know that there's going to be more homicides to come.
This is really no time to be dainty. We got witnesses that put the 2 of you together.
I don't care about your witness putting me together. There's a lot.
You better.
They call Atlanta the city too busy to hate, and it's our job to keep it that way.
As a homicide detective, I want to be the change. I want to put in the work.
And we know we're representing a family here. Failure is not an option to us.
From the streets
To the courtroom.
We work with our community to protect our community.
Atlanta 911 emergency. I'm calling for quick catching, please. Somebody shot something like that. Somebody shot something. Somebody shot that lady.
When this call came in, I was actually at home. It was very common for me to work a full day and go home and get the kids settled and lay down just to hear that phone ring. The area where this 911 call came in is Adamsville. It's an area where, just like anybody else in America, a lot of people trying to raise families, go to work, do all the right stuff. What do we have here?
Female Vic appears to be a single GSW with exit.
I learned that the victim, Stephanie Seabrum, was trying to cash her check.
Seabrum drove to the store with her boyfriend, Gary Payne.
While Stephanie went in the store, he sat in the car and waited. My first thought is that information true? You know, because I didn't know what I really had, I had Gary secured in a patrol car. I had to have a uniform officer watch him while I scoured through the crime scene.
Redlinger then turns to the 36-year-old victim.
I see Stephanie laying on the cement sidewalk in front of this check cashing store in this well-lit strip shopping center. She was shot in the back, maybe trying to turn or run away from the suspect, and the bullet came out of her neck. Looks like she got shot and just literally fell to the ground. The store cashier tells me that Stephanie came in and she wanted to cash a check.
She didn't have a driver's license or any ID on her, so she went back out to her car to get it.
He turns his back to do whatever else he was doing before Stephanie walked in, and at that moment when he turned his back, he heard a gunshot. And as he looked up, he saw a man running, and he saw Stephanie fall to the ground. He immediately called 911.
Even though the store's clerk didn't see the shooter clearly, there is another potential witness.
When I look up while inside the store, I saw a camera, which is very, very rare to actually get video footage on a murder.
I'll need a copy of the footage from that camera.
He told me that somebody else had to come in and download the video, and he would get back with me.
Redlinger then heads out to question Stephanie's boyfriend, Gary Payne.
Did you get a look at the shooter?
Not really.
Gary's like, oh, well, he's got on this black hoodie and these long shorts, and he looks pretty average. And I'm just sitting there thinking, boy, that should narrow it down for me. Out of all these people in the city of Atlanta, the guy's average.
Payne tells Redlinger he ran to Stephanie's side after she was shot. He says the killer took Stephanie's cell phone and the check she'd been trying to cash.
Well, to us, that didn't sound right. Why would somebody shoot her as soon as they saw somebody step out of the car?
I want to believe Gary. I want to have sympathy for him. He just lost his loved one. He saw it. He's right there, allegedly. But people lie to us all the time.
And it makes us look at Gary. Is he involved? Did he set this up?
I'll be in touch.
I knew that I was going to have to try to do things to verify Gary's story.
An hour into the investigation, prosecutor Tanya Miller is assigned to the case.
You want the prosecutor on the scene. You want them seeing what the detectives see.
They're looking at what we have. They're telling us when we need a search warrant, trying to take us step by step.
Also joining the investigation is Detective J.D. Stevens.
On the scene of the Seabrum homicide, we found a shell casing. It was a 9mm shell casing. And believe it or not, that little piece of brass could be the most important piece of evidence that we find.
I know what kind of gun I'm going to be looking for. That's good. But at the same time, here I am with this 9mm shell casing, which is probably the most common shell casing you would ever find. There's just millions of 9mm weapons all over the place.
While the team continues to comb the scene for evidence, Detective Redlinger meets with Stephanie Seabrum's family.
Breaking the news to a family of a loved one is the worst thing you ever have to do as a homicide detective.
Stephanie was well educated. She was smart. She was funny. She was full of life.
She had just finished a program at some dental school here. She was a dental assistant, so she loved smiling, and all her pictures, she had the most prettiest smile.
She always walked through the room with a smile on her face. I love her dearly. That smile.
It just literally crushed my heart. It touches home with me as a mother. The thought of my children to have to grow up without a mother.
Stephanie somehow managed to work full-time and take care of her 8 children.
My grandmother was her favorite person in the world. My grandmother had 14 children, and she wanted to have the same amount of children as my grandmother, so she was working on it.
Stephanie's first husband passed away in 1998 at a young age. 5 years later, she met Gary Payne.
They was together for quite a while. They worked together. They enjoyed each other. They came to a lot of family functions together.
Stephanie's family tells Detective Redlinger they can't think of anyone who would want her dead. But what about her boyfriend Gary, the father of her youngest child?
It's really uncomfortable because you don't want to go to a family and act all accusatory with other family members.
I can't say Stephanie loved him a lot. Every time I seen him, they was happy.
The family was a huge fan of Gary. They loved Gary. Gary was part of their family. They're engaged, they're going to be married. She's just finished dental hygiene school. She's got a good job. They have no problems.
Stephanie's loved ones don't believe Gary has anything to do with her murder, leaving Atlanta homicide no closer to a suspect.
The victim had 8 children. We had to solve this case because this is one, if you don't solve it, you're going to remember this forever, and it's going to haunt you for the rest of your life.
The next morning, the homicide unit chases their 2 big leads: Stephanie's missing cell phone and the check she was trying to cash when she was killed.
We're hoping somebody cashes this check. 1, we'll get a fingerprint off that check, and 2, hopefully, if everything works well, we'll have a video.
This is Detective Stevens with Atlanta Homicide. Yeah, I need to put a trace on a checking account.
Stevens also puts a trace on Stephanie's missing phone.
If we catch the individual with the cell phone, we're going to look at him and say, all right, man, this is linked to a murder. Who gave you this cell phone, or are you the guy that we're looking for?
Less than 24 hours after the murder, Detectives Redlinger and Stevens bring in Stephanie's fiancé, Gary Payne, for a formal statement.
We're going to do what we normally do in homicide. We're going to start from the inside and work our way out. So our number 1 suspect right off the bat was going to be Gary.
So the interview room is like, it's the hardest thing in this job. You have to be able to read their body language. You have to be able to think a step ahead and figure out where to go next because it's so fast-paced.
Detectives run Payne through his story again, but this time in much more detail.
Gary tells me that he pulls up at the store while Stephanie goes inside and he waits inside the car. And as Stephanie's coming out of the store, he's kind of watching her in the rearview mirror. And he suddenly sees this African-American male approach Stephanie. He decides to get out like, you know, why is this guy messing with my woman?
He steps out of the car at the same time the individual sees him and shoots her.
Payne says he then ran to Stephanie's side and she died seconds later as he held her hand. That's also when he noticed her cell phone and check were missing.
As I'm listening to his story, I'm trying to figure out in my mind, is he telling me the truth? Did he have motivation to want to hurt her? Did he hire somebody to hurt her? I had all these things swirling through my mind.
There's one piece of hard evidence that could answer all of Redlinger's questions.
What's really going to tell me what's what is this video. Then I can really get a good look at the suspect.
Gary Payne is released, at least for now. And just a few hours after Payne walks out of the station, the store surveillance video comes in to the homicide unit.
Can you see the victim? Can you see the suspect? Is Gary going to be in this video?
While the homicide team searches for Stephanie Seabrum's killer, the story of the murdered mother has the city of Atlanta on edge.
She has 8 children. Whoever took her life broke a lot of hearts. Find these people because she didn't deserve this.
Luckily, Detective Nicole Redlinger has promising evidence. The video from the check cashing store from the night of the murder.
And I can't tell you how much more jurors become invested in a case if they can see any portion of it in video.
Why? Because it speaks for itself. Jurors can just look at it, see exactly what happened.
The surveillance video in this case is actually taken from the vantage point of inside the store.
I see the store clerk's behind the counter. He's assisting Stephanie.
And you can see where something is going on, and there's an interaction between her and the guy behind the glass. Then what happens is she turns around and she walks out.
I'm trying to look at what's going on outside the store, through the door, from an inside camera. So, ever so faintly, I can see Stephanie outside, and I see a male walk up.
What we can see on the video is a man, African American, in black shorts and a black hooded sweatshirt.
Just like Gary described. And he walks up to her. Something's happening in an area that I can't see in the video. And the next thing I know, the suspect's running from the scene.
So we couldn't really tell who it was. We wouldn't be able to get a positive identification from that because it was dark and you couldn't get a good facial feature on the suspect.
But there is one important thing the video makes clear.
What the video does for me is it corroborates what the 911 caller says.
It also corroborates Gary Payne's story.
I have to eliminate Gary as a possible suspect at this point. He's not wearing the same clothes as what I see in the video as the person who shot and killed Stephanie.
Since the homicide unit can't tell who the shooter is, perhaps someone in Atlanta can.
The killer shot Stephanie Seabrum in her back. She fell to the ground right here.
Nicole basically took this surveillance video and shot it out to the news media.
This camera captures Stephanie Seabrum being shot to death. I was hoping that once I got this video to the media that somebody out there would recognize this suspect somehow. Anything. Clothing description, date and time that somebody might have been at this location. Here's Stephanie Seabrum right here, and here's the killer approaching. He shoots her. And once he shoots her, he flees the area. I'll take any lead I can get.
Just when the homicide unit is gaining momentum on one murder investigation, they get another harrowing call.
November 9th, 2008, at 3:15 in the morning, and my city work phone goes off, and it's the commander of the homicide unit. And he told me that I had a double homicide on 85 southbound right before Peachtree Street.
This time, the crime scene is in the middle of Interstate 85, Atlanta's busiest highway.
You basically blocked off an entire highway, and you blocked off all these people's access to all these counties. You got 1,000 cars behind you.
The two victims in the front seat were literally slouched over, touching each other, hanging onto each other. So they literally died holding on to each other.
The victims are 17-year-old Blanca Badillo and 18-year-old Policarpio Luviano.
There were witnesses that were still on the scene when I arrived. They were all friends.
The witnesses were in one car, and the victims were driving just ahead of them.
That's when individuals in this black SUV, possibly an Expedition, pull up alongside their car, their Lincoln car, and fire into the vehicle.
Stevens sends the witnesses back to the station to make a formal statement. Meanwhile, a search of the crime scene yields an important clue.
I found 2 9mm shell casings that were on the scene. There was one up against the HOV lane and one all on the opposite side of the highway up against the guardrail.
The 9mm shell casings instantly bring to mind the Stephanie Seabrum case.
Here we have this 9mm shell casing on both crime scenes. So now we have to try to figure out, are these cases connected?
As investigators continue to comb the scene, word spreads to the victims' families that something horrific has happened.
It was Saturday night, Sunday morning. I was at home. I remember the house phone ringing. And I remember my mom screaming, yelling.
One of her friends, they call us, she just say something happened to her and you need to come over here.
I kept thinking, oh, I'm gonna wake up from this dream. This is just a nightmare that I'm having. I'm gonna wake up and everything's gonna be normal. But no, that wasn't the case.
The day she was murdered was a special one for Blanca and the rest of the Badillo family.
It was my sister's birthday. She was turning 17. My mom had made her some, like a small gathering. And our family, I went over to eat and had some cake. And she left with her friends.
That night was the first time she had been allowed out with her friends without adult supervision.
She begged and said, Daddy, please. And I know the person that she was going with, they were good friends. That's the reason why I let her go, because I know the person that she was going with.
No one had a reason to do that to her because she didn't have any enemies. She was just loving and friendly. I can't imagine no one ever doing that to her or, trying to target her.
There could be nothing more heart-wrenching than this. Here you are as a father and you approve your daughter to go out on her birthday. And the worst case scenario happened. She was murdered. It's every father's worst nightmare.
When Stevens talks to the family of Policarpio Luviano, who everyone called Polly, he hears a similar story of a promising teen.
He was 18 years old, was a good Christian kid, had a great background, had never been in trouble, never had a record, was looking forward to getting into college.
They were good in school. They were college bound. They really didn't get into any trouble. They didn't hang around with the wrong crowd. Good kids from good families.
And of course, all that did was to fuel the fire. All I wanted to do was to catch these people.
The homicide unit now has 3 murders to solve, and one big question. Are these killings connected?
The common denominator between these 2 cases is one thing, and it's that 9mm shell casing.
Detectives look for any other connections between the cases.
The victims themselves are as innocent can get. Do they live in the same area? Do they go to the same church? Do they cash their checks at the same place? Do they go to the same clubs? Do they run in the same circle? There's absolutely no connection between these victims except the 9mm shell casing.
So, is the homicide unit searching for a lone killer or not?
The last thing you want is for this to be some serial killing rampage. It's just the worst thing that could happen because you know that there's going to be more homicides to come.
Atlanta's homicide unit has 2 murder mysteries on their hands that share the same type of murder weapon, a 9mm handgun.
Right now, it's way too early to tell if we have one killer on our hands on a crime spree in Atlanta, or do we have 2 different killers?
Detective Stevens, who is leading the investigation into the double homicide of teenagers Polly Luviano and Blanca Badillo, brings in the witnesses to get their accounts of the fatal evening.
They were celebrating Blanca's 17th birthday, and they went to a dance club, and they more or less danced all night.
She's doing what every 17-year-old girl on their birthday does.
Y'all drinking at the club?
No, sir.
Around 1:30, some gangbangers showed up, and they all started pushing each other. And the gangbangers were going at it.
And so the bouncers cleared everybody out of the club. They all left to go to Waffle House and eat breakfast.
Which, by the way, everybody in Atlanta goes to when it's late night and everything is closed. You go to Waffle House.
They eat their meal and they pay their bill. They then get into their respective cars and they start to leave the Waffle House to head home. They are on I-85. And literally not even 60 seconds after the kids get into a car, a black SUV rolls up on the side of Polly and Blanca's car, sticks a gun outside the window, and starts to fire inside of their vehicle.
I asked them, did they get into a fight with anybody at the club? Did they have any kind of confrontation with anybody or accidentally bump into somebody or any kind of yelling? They all said no.
The witnesses didn't get a good look at the shooters, and they had no idea why Polly's car was targeted.
They said there were 2 rival gangs there. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, are they lying to me? They don't want to give up their gang affiliation.
Detective Stevens reaches out to Atlanta's gang unit to see if they have anything on the victims or the witnesses.
This has got to be gang related in some way, so I'm trying to figure out what gang is these witnesses going to be a part of, or if they're part of any gangs whatsoever.
As Stevens works the Badillo-Luviano murders, a major ballistics clue comes to light in the Stephanie Seabrum case.
I get the results on the 9mm shell casing. They state that it came from a high point 9mm.
Now, make no mistake, a 9mm by itself is not rare, but a high point 9mm is very rare.
At this point in the investigation, I'm feeling better than when I started. I know what kind of murder weapon I'm looking for. I should be feeling better, right?
Then, the ballistics report comes in on the double murder, and the team gets a big surprise. While 9mm shell casings were found at the scene, the victims were actually killed by a .380, which means the team's most frightening theory can now be ruled out.
Initially, we have these 2 murders so close together, both with a 9mm. We're thinking they got to be connected. A month into the investigation, we figure out they're not connected at all.
And the very next day, there's another big break in the Seabrum case.
This check that was taken from Stephanie by the killer, it was actually cashed at a liquor store. Whoever cashed this check is the killer or is somebody the killer knows. I went straight to that liquor store. I spoke with the manager at the liquor store and asked for any video footage that he might have. So the owner of the liquor store tells me, yeah, we have cameras, but they're not working. Nothing was recorded. So I had another goose egg. It was just a dead end. I had nothing.
But then Stephanie Seabrum's phone records come in, and they hold a tantalizing clue.
After Stephanie's death, I saw at least 9 phone calls as if, Stephanie was using the phone, but obviously that's not possible.
Either the killer is using her phone actively and making calls, or someone connected to the killer.
All of the calls from Stephanie's phone were made to a woman named Tammy East.
It's obvious that Tammy has something to do with her murder because Stephanie's phone is calling Tammy after Stephanie's dead.
As a homicide detective, there's all kind of alarms going off. This just ain't a coincidence. This just ain't somebody randomly calling a house several times.
So I start diving into Tammy East. I need to know everything I can about her. That's what we do. We just start digging in people's underwear drawers.
And during her records search, Redlinger discovers East has a brother named Antonio Crawford.
Lo and behold, Antonio Crawford has this extensive criminal history. It's just right up my alley for what happened with Stephanie. So at this point, Antonio Crawford's looking like the best suspect.
She puts out an APB on Crawford and then calls Tammy's apartment manager.
The manager at the leasing office tells me that, yes, Tammy East lived there. Not lives, but lived there. I find out she has a boyfriend named Daniel. He tells me that Tammy lived there with her boyfriend, Daniel Edwards.
The landlord says they moved in early October. Stephanie Seabrum was killed on September 27th.
Why are they moving out right after the murder?
And when she runs Daniel Edwards' name, Detective Redlinger finds that just like Antonio Crawford, Edwards has a criminal record that includes an armed robbery conviction.
At this point in the investigation, I'm up on Daniel Edwards and Antonio Crawford. They're the best thing I got. All I could do was go grab a search warrant and try to get in that apartment and see, did they leave anything behind?
Atlanta police are still looking for the gunman who opened fire on I-85, killing 2 teenagers.
Meanwhile, Detective Stevens gets a game-changing lead in the search for Blanca and Polly's killer.
I received a phone call from an ICE agent, and he advised me that he had an informant that had some information.
The informant starts by confirming what witnesses had already told investigators.
There was a big fight between the Votos Locos gang and the Southsiders at the El Chaparral. The informant then proceeds to tell us who the people were involved in the Votos Locos.
The tipster identifies the 2 shooters by their street names, Vinny and Payaso, which is Spanish for clown.
Are you telling because you're involved and you're trying to put the heat elsewhere? Are you having a fight or a beef with somebody that you're turning in? You know, it can't just be one person's word against another. So we have to really take that tip information and dissect it.
The day after meeting with the informant, the gang unit reports back to the homicide unit. Vinny's real name is Venda Swastegi. Stevens asks the U.S. Marshals to track him down.
Once you get the U.S. Marshals after somebody, they're the best of the best. They won't stop till I find out who done this.
Swastegi is a member of Atlanta's violent Vatos Locos gang. And the homicide unit knows they have to get to their suspects fast.
If they found out where our witnesses were at or where they lived, they would take care of business themselves. We would no longer have any more witnesses.
While the U.S. Marshals search for Venda Swastegi, wanted for the double homicide of Blanca Badillo and Polly Luviano, the homicide team is still working the Stephanie Seabrum murder case.
It's not uncommon to be working 2, 3, 4 homicides at the same time.
Detective Nicole Redlinger says she is zeroing in on evidence that will pull together her case against Stephanie Seabrum's killer.
With a warrant in hand, Detective Redlinger searches the now vacant apartment where Tammy East lived with her boyfriend, Daniel Edwards.
I think I'm not about to find anything because the apartment's essentially vacant. But what I did find in a closet in a back bedroom was some paperwork for a high point 9mm handgun.
The same high point 9mm, that type of gun was used in this homicide.
So, I mean, this is like Christmas came early because I knew I was looking for a high point 9mm as my murder weapon. So I start digging around at the top of this closet where I find this paperwork, and there's like a side vent. I pull the vent off and find 9mm bullets. I've got to find Tammy East and Daniel Edwards and Antonio Crawford. They're the key to my murder, if not the killers themselves.
Detective Redlinger alerts Atlanta's Fugitive Task Force to intensify the search for all 3 suspects in the Seabrum case. Meanwhile, in the double homicide investigation, the U.S. Marshals get a bead on Venda Swastegi.
We went up on that phone and started tracking Vinny. And then we located Vinny in Roswell, Georgia, which is a northern suburb of Atlanta.
They track the phone to an apartment complex, and when Swastegi finally emerges, they pounce.
At this time, we only had a warrant for him being an illegal immigrant in the United States, but we were able to get him, arrest him for that, and take him back to the office. But all we really had was the informant's information. Was the informant lying? Was the informant trying to maybe, steer us in a different direction?
But almost as soon as the interview starts, something strange happens.
It's like something I've never had happen in my 13 years as a homicide detective. Vinny then looks down, and he looks right back up at me, and he just literally looked at me and says, "Hey, we up." And he says, "Yeah, I shot him. I shot the girl and I shot the guy."
They had gotten into this fight at the club with these Southsiders, a rival gang.
And the security guards there had to tell everybody to leave and start pushing everybody outside.
After they left the club, he says he followed Luviano's car to the diner and waited.
Then as they exited the Waffle House after they had eaten, the gang, the Voltos gang, gets in behind them and follows them.
They thought Polly's car was full of Southside gang members as opposed to two teenage kids.
So they pulled up beside them, had their guns, rolled the windows down, and shot them up. And it turned out they'd killed the wrong people.
As this all turns out, it was completely a case of mistaken identity.
They had no gang involvement. They don't even know anything about the Voltos Locos. Everything that the witnesses were telling me were absolutely right.
One day later, the U.S. Marshals find the other accused shooter, Filiberto Payaso Cuevas, at a bakery in southeast Atlanta. And just like his partner in murder, he admits his guilt right away.
I've never seen two people completely confess to something that they know is going to give them life in prison. It just doesn't happen.
They say that it was that they weren't trying to target them, that they were actually targeting someone else, and they confused the car, the person that they were looking for. But it's like, how do you do something like that,
And just the idea that their lives were lost so senselessly and on a fluke, it's just mind-blowing and heartbreaking at the same time.
The team has cleared the double murders off the board, but they're still chasing Stephanie Seabrum's killer. Then they get a tip. Antonio Crawford is spotted at his grandmother's house, along with his sister, Tammy East.
Is my killer Antonio Crawford? Is my killer Daniel Edwards? Were they together? Now's the time to find out.
Redlinger and Atlanta homicide detective David Quinn put Crawford in the hot seat.
Do you remember where you were on the 27th? Have you seen where you were?
I remember the trail was on the wall.
But you don't have anybody that can vouch for you and say, hey, he was here, there.
I probably been at the tick at the place catching my tick.
Antonio says, if it was a Friday night, I was at the check cashing place. I was cashing my check. I was like, I can't believe he just said that. He put him at the same place Stephanie was killed.
But there's a catch.
I don't hang on the west side, that's what I'm saying. Straight east side.
So it's like Antonio caught himself. And quickly, he was like, oh, but it wasn't that check cashing store. It was a different one on the east side. And then he starts getting into this whole east side, west side thing.
I wouldn't know that because I don't be on the west side like that. I don't even part on the west side.
So now I'm at a point in the interview where I just got to take a chance and try to bluff Antonio. All right, well, here's the thing. We have witnesses that are putting you and Daniel together the night of the murder after murder. Of course, in this case, I didn't have witnesses, so I just had to completely make that up with Antonio. Their photo lineups.
And they got the wrong man. I'm not in. You gotta be lying. They say they saw me with it. You gotta be lying.
He was emphatic he wasn't there. He was emphatic witnesses didn't see him. So I couldn't keep going in all the way with this witness thing because it was like trying to sell him something he didn't want to buy.
No, I'm saying, just let me know because I ain't in that store. I wasn't with him.
She bluffed him. Sometimes bluffs work and sometimes they don't. And in this particular case, it didn't work.
So I had to change up my tactic, and I knew I had my ace in the hole, which was my phone evidence.
Well, let me give you another little piece of evidence, okay? Whoever killed her and robbed her took her phone. They used her phone.
Somebody's calling from the dead girl's phone to your family. Like, that's how blunt we had to put it to Antonio. We had to get his attention.
That dead lady's phone was calling people, your folks, after she's in the ground.
So you and Daniel are all up in my murder.
I don't know. I wasn't with him.
Okay, well, you need to know.
You got to talk really blunt and really hard. This is really no time to be dainty. We had to get his attention.
You're involved whether you want to be or not. What we're asking you is, how is the dead girl's phone calling you all? You and Daniel have some issues, and today's the day for you to tell the truth and get yourself out of this.
Atlanta homicide detectives are questioning suspect Antonio Crawford in the murder of Stephanie Seabrum. They turn up the heat by pushing him to talk about suspected gunman Daniel Edwards.
If Daniel pulled the trigger, then that's what you need to be telling us.
Not know nothing really about Daniel.
No matter what tactic we tried with Antonio, nothing was working. We got to the point where we had to give him that knockout punch.
What's Daniel gonna say?
I don't know what Daniel gonna say. Go ahead. I wasn't with Daniel.
Daniel's gonna say you're the one that pulled the trigger.
Come on, man. This wastes my time. Really, this wastes my time. I wasn't at no scene of murder.
With no confession and no murder weapon, detectives let Crawford go.
We had interviewed this guy for an hour and a half, and that was it. He wasn't going to cop to anything. He just wasn't having it.
Then, they circle back to his sister, Tammy, who reluctantly agrees to talk.
So with Tammy, I know she's not the killer. Obviously, it's a man. So I just need to know what she knows. I need to know, did her boyfriend Daniel confess to her? Did her brother confess to her? What does she know about my murder?
But Tammy East's answers aren't much different from her brother's.
I don't know. That's the game she's playing.
So the only thing I have at this point is to show her this high point 9mm paperwork that I found in her apartment, and that changes everything. So at that point, she gave me a little piece. She's like, well, it's not mine. I guess it must be Daniel's.
She's totally taking herself out of the homicide, and do not put me into this homicide at all.
Redlinger doesn't get far with Tammy East, but the bonds between these three suspects are about to break.
Suddenly, after Antonio Crawford sat for a few days, we get a phone call. Now he wants to talk. Possible jail time can do amazing things for a person's memory.
I have put in a videotape. I want to make your statement official.
And this time, the story's completely different than the last one. Antonio goes on to say that his sister had come to him crying.
He came and said, it's him. I know it's him. I see it on TV. I said, what? She said, it's him. I know it's him. I noticed the shorts he had on. Everybody was him.
She noticed the shorts from the news story?
I guess so. From whatever she must have saw in the news.
I was shocked that she could pick out these shorts. From my vantage point in the video, they looked like any other long pair of shorts. But she knew her man's shorts.
But Crawford has more than just his sister's tearful ID of her boyfriend, Daniel Edwards. He recounts a conversation that he had with Edwards, one that gives a detail only the shooter could know.
He said I had to shoot, and the girl, boyfriend or something must have been there. Evidently her boyfriend was there at the time.
So Antonio tells me that Daniel said the reason why he shot Stephanie was because he was out robbing. A man started to get out of a car to come towards him, and he panicked and he had to shoot. Nowhere did we ever talk about how Gary went to get out of the car to check on Stephanie. So when Antonio told me that information, I knew he was telling the truth. Either Antonio was actually there and was lying about being there, or Daniel really gave him this third-party confession.
It takes the Fugitive Task Force months to find him, but on March 1st, 2009, Daniel Edwards is tracked down and arrested in Decatur, Georgia. But the suspected murder weapon, a high .9mm gun, is not on him.
They weren't able to match the gun. They're saying the paperwork found in that house is the same gun that was used in the murder. They couldn't say that. They could say type of gun, which is helpful because it's a very rare type of gun, but they could not do a direct match with the gun.
Without a murder weapon or someone at the scene who could identify Edwards, prosecutors are left with a circumstantial case built on Antonio Crawford's claim that Edwards had confessed to him.
Mr. Edwards confided in him that he messed up and that he had to shoot the woman during the robbery.
You can either try this case with the chance that this man will literally walk away. You could either have that happen to the victim's family, or you could have the man do 20 years. It's a compromise. You get 20 years of prison time.
I thank Atlanta Police Department and all the help that the public have given me since my daughter died.
I just want him to know he took a light from the family. You know, Stephanie was a good person. I'm never, ever going to forget it. And I hope she's on his mind every night.
On August 30th, 2010, both Filiberto Cuevas and Venda Swastegi plead guilty and are sentenced to life in prison for the murders of Blanca Badillo and Policarpio Luviano.
You can never bring their children back to them. You feel happy that you could bring closure to a family, but you'll never make the pain stop. It'll never stop.
They just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. They were not tied up with the wrong crowd at all. It was just such a tragedy.